Hey y'all, this is my top AFC teams ranked going into 2024. At number 8, I have the LA Chargers. I'm really leaning into the Harbaugh effect here. As you probably well know, the Chargers finished last in their division with only 5 wins last year. Part of that was due to Justin Herbert's injury troubles, but a lot of it just had to do with lackluster play on both sides of the ball. Now, people will look at the Chargers and see losses of star players like Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, and mostly Keenan Allen. These losses don't bother me, though, as Eckler has looked like he's lost a step or two recently, and I never was the biggest Mike Williams guy, on top of him not being able to stay healthy. The one solid loss is Keenan Allen, but I think they can replace most of his production with the rookie Lad McConkey out of Georgia, who they took at the top of the second round. He may not go for 12 or 1,300 yards this year, especially with Harbaugh being the new coach and the Chargers wanting to run the ball more. But I could see him being that safety net for Herbert and racking up close to 1,000 if he can stay healthy. And then on the running back side, the additions of Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins from the Ravens are both solid and could fill a role for the running back room similar to how Ladd is supplementing the receiving production from Keenan Allen. On top of that, you have an improved offensive line with them taking Joe Alt out of Notre Dame as a top pick this year. If they are able to unlock this running game and Herbert is able to actually run play action and the defense can bite on it, I think this team will be a lot better than they were last year on offense. On the defensive front, you're just really hoping Joey Bosa can give you 12 or more games this year and preferably be healthy late in the year. When he's healthy, he's hard to handle, but he's had really bad injury trouble the past few years. They also have Khalil Mack rushing the passer, who amazingly got 17 sacks as a 32-year-old last year. They're also hoping rookie from last year, Tui Tuipulotu, keeps developing because he showed flashes last year of big potential out of USC. Denzel Perryman is a solid middle linebacker, and we'll wait to see if rookie from 2023, Dayon Henley, can fill the role that Kenneth Murray left last year. In the secondary, you have 2 stars in Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James Jr. Both guys are elite at their position, and it's especially fun to watch James roam around the middle and take people's heads off left and right. That body slam on Kelsey is still one of the best tackles I've ever seen. I see this team as being a tough outing for anyone and fighting for a playoff berth late in the year. It really depends on how quickly Harbaugh can implement his system and his teachings to this organization as to where this team finishes this year, but I think it will only go up from there. At number 7, I have the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are a tough team to rank because if you were to ask me a month or two into the season where to rank this squad, I would usually, the past couple of years, say top 3 or 4 in the AFC. It just so happens that football happens in the fall, and late in the year, it gets really cold. And the Dolphins have shown that they don't like cold at all. I really like Mike McDaniel and think he's one of the best offensive minds in the league. And even though he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to play with, he still gets everything he can out of what he's given, including Tua at quarterback. Now, I like Tua and think he's a solid quarterback, but he's definitely propped up a decent bit by his surrounding cast and who his coach is. Very accurate in the short to intermediate game. I just don't think he has enough mobility or enough juice in his arm to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league based purely off of skill. And that lack of arm strength really comes to bite back late in December and during the playoffs when the cold and wind drag the ball down. So until he gets that fixed, it's going to be hard for me to rank them much higher than this because I don't see them doing a ton of damage in the playoffs unless they take a different approach. At receiver, everyone knows Tyreek Hill is the best, if not top 3 receiver in the league, and can burn literally any secondary player that faces him. Jalen Waddle on the other side is also one of the faster receivers in the league, and ever since they drafted him in the first round out of Alabama, he's excelled. The addition of Jonnu Smith at tight end should be solid as he's a good receiver and one of the better yards after the catch tight ends in the league. Their line is solid, but losing their top guard to the Panthers may give them troubles down the line. On defense in the front 7, the loss of Christian Wilkins is pretty big because I consider him one of the best 3-tech defensive linemen in the league. You still have underrated Zach Sealer there, though, and hopefully superstar Jalen Phillips can come back healthy from his Achilles injury last year. At linebacker, adding Jordan Brooks from the Seahawks is an underrated addition, as I think he's a really solid sideline-to-sideline linebacker. And then the secondary, you have stars in Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey, even though Jalen's aging a bit. Holland is one of my favorite players to watch in the league, as his ability to cover huge distances in short amount of time is sometimes wild to see, and he also has a crazy football IQ. I see the Dolphins this year as I've seen them the past couple years, and they are in a similar boat to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC. We know this is a great team, and we know that they probably will be in the playoff hunt late in the year, but it's all about winning when the playoffs come around for this team, and anything less than that will be a disappointment.
One-on-one against Michael Davis to the corner. What a day.
At number 6, I have the Houston Texans. Shocking the league last year with rookie C.J. Stroud. Nobody expected the Texans to do what they did. They were one of the worst teams in the league in 2022 and ended up with the number 2 pick in the 2023 draft. My Panthers went Bryce Young out of Alabama, and we'll see how that works out for them. But the Texans took C.J. Stroud at number 2 out of Ohio State and never looked back. He came out of the gate as a rookie hot and didn't really slow down, and ended up having one of the best rookie quarterback years of all time. Going from second worst team in the league to winning a playoff game handily against a pretty damn good Browns team is a crazy turnaround, the likes of which we've rarely seen before. Their third-round pick, Tank Dell, at receiver was a huge addition as well until he got hurt late in the year. He'll be back healthy this year, and along with breakout star from last year, Nico Collins at the big outside X receiver, they have a solid receiving duo coming back after they were just getting started. Now they added, along with that, aging superstar Stephon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills this offseason, and you have one of the better wide receiver trios in the league. Even though Diggs did somewhat fall off last year, I'm still giving him this year before I officially say he's not the receiver he used to be. Dalton Schultz completes this weapon room, a solid tight end that they got from the Cowboys last year. The offensive line is decent but not too amazing. Hopefully they can get the running game going a little more this year with the addition of Joe Mixon from the Bengals, who, similar to Diggs, looks like he may have lost his step but may just needed a new situation. On defense, you have star rookie from Alabama last year, Will Anderson, hopefully taking another leap into being a top pass rusher in the league, as well as the addition of Danielle Hunter, very good pass rusher from the Minnesota Vikings. Linebackers aren't too amazing, even though I do like Azeez Al-Shaair from the Titans. On the secondary front, they have Derek Stingley Jr., their number 3 overall pick from a couple years ago, as well as Kamari Lassiter, their second-round pick out of Georgia in this year's draft. These two, combined with Jalen Petrie at safety, make up a formidable secondary that gives coach D'Amico Ryans a lot to work with. I think this is a team that I'm slightly lower on the most because I just need to see more from all of their young pieces, and I also need to see that offensive line can mesh together into a cohesive unit. But the defense is damn good and the division is weak, so I can definitely see the Texans doing a lot of damage this year, even late into the year.
It's Nico Collins, and there's no disguise to what he's doing. It's just a foot race. He takes off on the deep post. It's rookie Juju Brents who's in coverage on him.
At number 5, I have the Buffalo Bills. Similar to the Chargers, I think people are slightly overstating what all the Bills lost this offseason on offense. Sure, Stephon Diggs has been one of the best receivers in the league in the past 4 or 5 years for the Bills, but he really fell off in the last half of last year, and they really weren't using him in their offense. That, along with losing Gabe Davis, who I think is overrated in his own right, makes me think that the offense won't struggle quite as much as people are thinking with the new weapons at receiver. It might take him a little bit to adjust, but I think Keon Coleman will end up being a solid go-to receiver, whether it's the second half of this year or next year. A big physical guy that hasn't been playing football for long, he's super raw and young. Then the addition of Curtis Samuel from the Commanders is an underrated addition because I think he can be a very solid wide receiver too, and even have plays designed around getting him the ball. That, combined with another year of Khalil Shakir in the slot, who has shown flashes of potential, you could have a more solid wide receiver core than people realize.
And they have
That's not to mention their phenomenal first-round pick last year at tight end, Dalton Kincaid, who's a threat in the receiving game in his own right. Another year under his belt, and who's to say what his ceiling is this year. They also have a good receiving back in James Cook out of the backfield, and drafted hard-nosed between the tackles runner Ray Davis out of Kentucky this past year. All of these weapons combined with an elite QB in his prime and Josh Allen, as well as a solid offensive line, and I think you still have one of the better offenses in the league. The defense is where I get a little bit hung up and wish they helped Josh Allen more over the past 3 or 4 years with bigger stars that made more of an impact on that side of the ball. Their big addition was Von Miller, a washed-up defensive end from the Broncos a few years ago, and even I knew that wasn't going to work out as soon as I heard the news. Ed Oliver had a solid year on the defensive line, but that's really all there is to write home about last year besides the solid A.J. Epinesa and Greg Rousseau. Linebackers are in a similar situation with Terrell Bernard having a solid season last year, but nothing really to write home about as a unit. And then in the secondary, you have solid players like Rasul Douglas and Taylor Rapp and Taron Johnson, but again, no superstars that the offense needs to identify every play. And this is where I think Sean McDermott comes in as a defensive-minded head coach and props up this group of players a little higher than they probably should be with an average head coach. The Bills this year are a team that it would be disappointing if they didn't make the playoffs, and Super Bowl aspirations have to be on their radar, even with the key losses of some big names.
Bring it back. No one goes in motion. It's zone. Work somebody out over here.
3rd and 6. Pass at the goal line. Caught for a touchdown. Sets up a 3rd and 11.
They've been great on 3rd and long today.
Here they come blitzing. Stepping up. Going to try to run for it. Dodges one defender.
At number 4, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a team where their success rests on the health of one player, and that's Joe Burrow. Officially injury-prone after hurting his elbow last year, Joe needs to show that he can play a year or 2 in a row without something catastrophic happening that ends his season. If he can do that, the sky's the limit for this team. He has one of the best receivers in the league, out wide, in Jamar Chase. He's a do-it-all guy that can torch you over the top, as well as catch 12 balls underneath and kill you that way over the course of a game. Chase was also his teammate back at LSU, where they won the national championship, and they've been tight ever since.
Purdy still has it.
On the other side, you have a T. Higgins, a big, tall receiver that can win jump balls and catch the ball even when he's covered. There was a lot of contract talk with him this offseason, and it looks like this will be his last year on the Bengals, but I think he will want to show out this year to get a juicy contract on another team. They also added Jermaine Burton out of Alabama in the 3rd round, who I think could surprise people as soon as this year. Losing Joe Mixon could be a decent blow, but I think Chase Brown, their rookie from last year, could step into that role and provide at least a comparable production to what Mixon has given them during his career. The offensive line is okay, if not slightly below average, and that's one of the reasons I'm scared for Joe Burrow's health every year, because he's getting hit all the time. But he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and when he's healthy, the Bengals can win against anybody, any day. On defense, the front line is solid with the likes of Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson at pass rush, and Sheldon Rankins clogging up the middle. Also, a really solid linebacking core with Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt leading the way. Then the secondaries may be the strength of the defense, with having cornerbacks Cam Taylor-Britt and Dax Hill, as well as DJ Turner to fill in for some depth. Von Bell is a good hard-nosed safety, and Geno Stone is a solid addition from the Ravens over the top. This is a defense that's hard to attack at any certain level or side of the field just because of how solid their defense is all around, and they have good players everywhere you look. We've seen what this Bengals team can do when everyone's healthy the past few years. They've given the Chiefs the run for their money, even beating them more than once. So hopefully the offensive line can hold up, and Joe Burrow can play all 17 games, plus the playoffs, because they're a damn fun team to watch when this brutal, sometimes tragic game we love doesn't catch up to them. At number 3, I have the New York Jets. The elephant in the room is Aaron Rodgers, so I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking about him. Similar to the Bengals, if he can stay healthy this year, I think the Jets could win the Super Bowl. They have that good of a team, and I don't think their roster is getting overblown by the media like some people think. Garrett Wilson is a phenom receiver waiting to break out. He's just been dealing with terrible QB play since his rookie year. Then you have Breece Hall, who's one of the best running backs in the league last year, also on a terrible offense that held him back. Combined with the additions of Mike Williams, a solid receiver when he's healthy outside, as well as early third-round pick Malachi Corley that will probably end up playing in the slot. Corley's coming out of a smaller school, but is super rocked up and strong, and this allows him to run after the catch and break tackles, a la discount Deebo Samuel. We'll see how this unit comes together with this solid offensive line that can hopefully stay healthy as well. But if everything works out, this definitely will be one of the best units in the league, even with the 40-year-old Rodgers, can scare most defenses that play them. The defense is absolutely stacked with the likes of Jermaine Johnson, young and up-and-comer that could break out even more this season after his 7.5 sack season in 2023. Will McDonald also showed flashes last year rushing the passer, their first-round pick in 2023. Quinnen Williams is one of the best defensive tackles in the league and is a guy that must be double-teamed every play, which only opens up more opportunities for the defensive ends. At linebacker, they have one of the best duos in the league in C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams, who can both thump in the run game with the best of them. In the secondary, you have new superstar Sauce Gardner out wide, as well as damn good DJ Reader on the other side, who's a solid veteran presence. Combine that with the solid duo of Chuck Clark from the Ravens and Tony Adams, who's a tackling machine, and you have one of the better all-around groups on defense in the league. While this team does scare me like the Bengals, where all it takes is one bad play for these quarterbacks and basically these teams' Super Bowl aspirations are done, you could say that for basically every team with a superstar QB. I just think Burrow and Aaron Rodgers having injury trouble really sheds light on the fact even more. All in all, this is a team that if their key players stay healthy, this is a Super Bowl or bust type of squad. At number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens. One of my favorite teams in the league to watch. The Ravens are still an old-school smash-you-in-the-mouth football team, even in the modern era in 2024. The addition of veteran running back Derrick Henry, the tank out of Tennessee, should tell you all you need to know about what this team thinks of themselves and what they're trying to do. Even though Lamar passed last year more than he usually had, they were still one of the top run teams in the league, and I don't think that will change this year. Lamar is one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league, and I think when he gets going, this offense is one of the harder ones to stop, especially if you don't have the hosses up front on defense. They like to smash you in the mouth with their run game and Lamar to set up the play action and bootlegs where they can kill you with their playmakers out wide, Zay Flowers, as well as freshly off of injury, Mark Andrews. Even though he did fumble and basically cost the Ravens the game in the playoffs last year, that can't take away from an amazing rookie season and second half of the year that Zay Flowers had. That combined with having Mark Andrews coming back off of injury at tight end, and you have two dynamic playmakers for them to work with when he decides to drop back. Not much else on the receiving front to write home about, but unless someone gets injured, that's not really that big of a deal with the passing volume this team usually has. On the defensive front, you have breakout from last year Justin Madubuike, who's dominant in the run game and was able to get 13 sacks as well last year. Some solid players around him with Michael Pierce and Owe as well. At linebacker, they lost Patrick Queen, but they still have one of the best linebackers in the league back there with Roquan Smith, who they got a couple years ago from the Bears. Hopefully Trenton Simpson, rookie last year out of Clemson, can step in and at least play decently in that Queen role. The secondary room is led by superstar Kyle Hamilton, who is sort of like this day's modern Troy Polamalu. He can line up anywhere on the field and make any type of play at any time. A super smart playmaker that has a rare combination of football IQ as well as the willingness to knock a player out at the same time. Out wide, there's nothing special. They're hoping late first-round pick from this year, Nate Wiggins out of Clemson, will develop into something, as well as Marlon Humphrey hopefully having a bounce-back year after seemingly falling off recently. The Ravens were 1 or 2 plays last year from making the Super Bowl, and I think they would have given the 49ers a run for their money if they had made it. So really with this team, it's all about bringing it together for another year and playing up to their potential. And if they do that, I think they'll be in the mix very, very late in the year.
And on the motion into it, Zay Flowers.
Edwards is the definition of a north-south runner, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
From the pocket. Cuts away from Chenal, who's trying to get after him for a second time, but the ball is thrown to the end zone, and it's caught. Flowers with the touchdown. The Ravens strike right back from 30 yards out.
At number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Who would have thought that the team that won the last 2 Super Bowls in a row would be number 1, but here we are. We've never seen a team three-peat ever in the NFL, and I think this team has a chance to do it, even if it won't be easy. Patrick Mahomes has shown that no matter what the circumstances or players that you give around him, that he can make plays and win any game, especially as the situations become more clutch. This gives the whole team the feeling that even if they're down by 3 touchdowns late in the game, if they keep playing, they still have a chance to come back because of who their quarterback is. They only really got better on the offensive side of the ball, not losing anybody of note and adding in free agency solid outside receiver Marquise Brown from the Cardinals, as he's a great deep threat. They also drafted Xavier Worthy, receiver out of Texas in the first round, who broke the record for the fastest 40-yard dash in the NFL in this past combine. These 2 moves should tell you all you need to know about the Chiefs and what they're trying to do, and that's get back to pushing the ball down the field a little bit so they can open up their shorter to intermediate game a little more with the likes of Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. At running back, they're bringing back Pacheco, and their offensive line is basically the same, so nothing really should change there, and this should be still one of the best offensive units in the league, if not the best. The defense is underrated as well because I think the offense gets a ton of the shine, rightfully so with having guys like Patrick Mahomes back there. Their front line is led by George Karlaftis at defensive end, as well as elite tackle Chris Jones. Linebackers are damn solid, led by Nick Bolton, who's been damn good ever since he came out of Missouri, as well as solid outside linebackers in Drew Tranquill and Leo Chenal, who could possibly take a step up this year after they let go of Willie Gay. In the secondary, they lost their star from last year, L'Jarius Sneed, but they still have great players like Trent McDuffie and Justin Reed back there. Hopefully younger guys like Brian Cook and Joshua Williams step up this year and shore up the other half of the secondary, but I wouldn't be too worried about it with how well prepared this team usually is year in and year out. The Chiefs are a team where their season goals are a very rare 3-peat or bust, and I think that could give them the extra motivation they need after dominating the league the past 2 years. They'll always be a tough team to beat as long as they have number 15 taking the snap. That's it for the rankings, guys. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed. The Chiefs-Ravens game is kicking off in 3 hours, so I'm ready to lock in, and let's effing go.
They're calling it a touchback and recovery on the field. This is a call that could determine the whole game right here.
Sneed,
It's out.
who has played at the highest level this entire season, Jim. Sneed has defended the other team's best receiver. Can only feel the number of people out there being like, what's going on?
First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
And this was the Andy Reid special. This was the Andy Reid special.